the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that thought.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's Friday night, which means it's 3 Amigos night, and I'm joined by my other 2 Amigos, Steve Hasty and Mitch. How are you, lads?
Very well,
All good, mate.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And as always, plenty of your usual favourites coming up tonight on the show. Rest in peace, Shane Warne as well, lads. What a shock that was. Not our sport, of course. Cricket was Shane Warne's sport, but 52-year-old heart attack. It's rocked the sports nation, Steve.
Absolutely, and coming so soon after the loss for Australia of Rod Marsh as well, another idol in the cricketing world for a generation, perhaps before Shane Warne broke in 1992. But Shane, for me, was the most marvellous spin bowler and a great personality. And I think that's what you get with cricket, isn't it? Great personalities. Special guy, seemed to have a lot of time for everyone. And I don't think I'll ever forget. I mean, I'm not a cricket fan, but I don't think I'll ever forget that was that very first ball in his Test match career when he put what ended up being the ball of the century into Mike Gatton and bowled him out. You know, those type of things just they turn you in from a normal football or a normal cricket fan and turn that person into an icon. And that set his career off. Imagine your career being set off in your very first game. Tragic loss. Feel for everyone who follows cricket. Had a great record. And just came over and everything that you're hearing, what a great bloke he was, you know. So, very, very sad. Very sad.
Very sad indeed. Yeah, Mitch, I mean, I guess you probably booed him as much as I did when he was playing for Australia, but he was a character, and that's the kind of thing that football needs, cricket needs, all sport needs, characters.
They need entertainers. It's that less of the 0.1% people who aren't just great at what they do from a sporting perspective. They're proper entertainers. They cross boundaries, they cross nationalities. People would go out of their way to go and see him play, whether they were Australian, New Zealander, South African, English, West Indies, or anywhere in the world. And sports all the poorer without people like that in it. We need those special people who transcend certain boundaries and are able to do the magical on occasion. And it puts a lot of things into perspective when you see someone like that at 52, I believe, no longer with us. It's been a weird few months for us in the Matters community, that's for sure, losing people. And it really is just such a terrible shame to see someone like Shane Warne go like that.
Yeah, awful circumstances, and obviously our thoughts are with his family. And you're right, that's been terrible for the NUFC Matters community. But good news on my mother, she is doing a lot better. Thank you everybody for giving us, letting us know what basically sending your views and your best wishes, etc. But from my perspective, ultimately she is on the mend, which is great news. So
Can I follow
really
that
happy.
up with some more good news as well? Yeah. Obviously, people know about Steve Bennett's missus being trapped in the Ukraine. I've just spent a couple of hours with him because he's back here in Dubai at the moment. She's now safe in Bulgaria with family.
Fantastic.
And Steve's going to be flying across to Sofia, I think, on Monday to go and join her. And then they work out a plan about where they go next, you know. And for Steve, God love you, mate. We've just had a very good couple of hours spinning yarns and exchanging views, and a conversation with him helped me pull my head out of my backside with the first very, very first world problem this week. When he turned around and said to me, look, mate, I don't even know if I've got a home standing at the minute. And it does make you stop and think. He and I, over the last 3 years, through pandemics and takeovers and all sorts, have had some very unusual conversations that I don't think any of us thought we would ever have. And we're going to add tonight's conversation to that and all. But she's safe. He's happy. And I'm quite sure, good God, she's made us stern stuff. Get her and our mother across Ukraine, through Romania and into Bulgaria. I don't think you mess with Ukrainian women. I think that's why she drug her mother with her, because she wouldn't leave because of her mother, you know. And I've said to Steve tonight, that's where it all comes from. And I'm just delighted for him, delighted for her. And I just thought I'd let everybody know that it's come to a positive end.
That's great news. Great news to hear. And I think, that everything that's been going on in the world over the last fortnight, it's certainly over in the East there with our friends in Ukraine. And the people that we know and the people that we come across and the people who we know who have families there, it must be a very, very traumatic time. And I'm so pleased that Steve's managed to get the family out. And, let's, exactly as you say, Mitch, let's see what they can do now. But the most important thing is they're all safe. And from that, we've got to say, what a blessing.
Yeah, well, that's it. Fantastic. And my mum hopefully will be back home at some point over the next couple of weeks. So, just thanks for everyone for that kind words. It certainly got me through, quite a difficult couple of weeks. And, she's definitely on the mend, which is great. So thanks for everybody for that kind words. Okay, as always, got plenty to get through. We'll dive into the chat early doors. Chippers asks a very important question, lads, and it's this. Evening, lads. Have you got an opinion on the heartbreaking news that Neighbours is ending after 37 years? Steve.
Someone who hasn't watched Neighbours for 36 years. Not really, Chipper. Sorry about that, mate.
Brilliant. Okay, Mitch.
I've not seen any normal telly since the time I landed in Dubai.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know people in Neighbours if they sat next to us on the bus.
I've got to be honest, I was more of a home and away fan. But rest in peace, Neighbours. Definitely, it's over. And I can't see it getting a new channel. So Monkey Suit says, evening, lads. Eddie talked about Longstaff in his press conference, saying he has a future at the club. I personally can't see it. I love a local lad, but I think Sean will push for a move this summer. Yeah, the Longstaffs, we've talked about them over the last couple of years on the show. Steve, what's your view on the Longstaffs? Because, Matty and Sean promised so much. Sean, of course, was a subject to speculation about a move to Manchester United at one point. A £20 million fee had been suggested. He then got that horrific injury and never really came back the same player. Struggled like most of the first team did under Bruce. Matty never got a look in under Steve Bruce. No reason given as to why. When he has, he hasn't let us down. 2 goals against Manchester United. The winning goal, of course, at St James's Park, which everybody remembers. But yeah, Longstaffs, have they got a future?
I think they have. I think certainly Sean has a future. I think Matty has a future as well. And I think that Eddie Howe is a sort of good coach who can bring the best out of them. I think that's what they've needed. I think, when you've got to remember, they're just young lads that were starting out on their career, and then suddenly have to be put into a situation where, and let's face it, judging by the rest of the squad, nobody was getting any proper coaching, nobody was getting any direction, nobody's getting any support in that particular way, and nobody was identifying exactly what those key players need. You just need to see the change in Joe Linton to be able to understand what we're talking about. So in that respect, I think Matty, the potential was there, the ability's there, the skill is there. Maybe he just needs to be supported, and I think exactly the same with Sean. They just need a little bit more direction. But I think they're 2 great prospects for Newcastle United, and they will certainly have a place in any squad that I was putting together, because not just because they're local lads, and I think local lads are important, because we've got to show the future. We've got to show the youngsters that are trying to break through that there are opportunities. This is Newcastle United on a totally different path to the path we've been on for many, many years. And we want to show local lads that they can be part of that journey as well. And if local lads see the likes of Matty and Sean being discarded, and then that's going to disillusion them, and it's not going to give the right message. That's not necessarily the reason why I'm saying that they should be kept in, just because there's some sort of figurehead for local youngsters. But it plays a part. It's an important feature. And I think it helps with the development of the football club per se. So I definitely think they've both got something to add in the next couple of years with Newcastle United.
What about you, Mitch? Longstaffs, can you see a future for them? I mean, we're talking about getting the checkbook out in the summer, of course.
Yeah, we are, but you still need a squad, and you still need people in the background who are part of that squad. I think what it would do with 2 young players who effectively stalled in their development for different reasons. Sean, initially, you didn't really know what was his best position. Was he a centre midfielder in the sort of the pivot role? or was he more of an advanced number 10 kind of role where he seemed to start to excel? And then all of a sudden, Rafa goes, Bruce comes in, he's being played back in a different position, and then he gets that injury, and that stalls everything. Matty's stolen came through a distinct lack of opportunity, and whatever happened there after he signed his new contract and then wasn't played. And so they both had a stall in development for different reasons. But as Steve just touched on, if you see what Howe can do with Joe Linton, I'm damn sure he can do something with the Longstaffs. And I think you're right. I think it's a sorry tale from our academy to see too many of these players hit that point where they then stall. But also, you know, there's a bit of clamour for you local lads to do well, and that brings a different pressure. Like the person you could talk to about that was Tony Loma. After he scored his first goal at 17 and just over 17 and a half. And next thing the Chronicles got on the back pages, the next Jackie Milburn and this, that and the other.
Ian Bogie, the next Gaza.
Aye. Yeah.
Joe Allen.
Joe Allen do that.
Pressure that Joe was put under. There's loads of them. We've go through dozens of players like that. Michael Chopper.
It's well-meaning on our part as a fan. It's well-meaning, I'm sure, on the part of sometimes the journalists who write these stories. But then comes a weight of expectation, and the shirt's suddenly twice as heavy, and it not everybody can live with that. We need to be looking at development, and we've got, you know, Ashworth coming in sooner rather than later, hopefully, who's going to be part of that development. And there's no reason why, with the right hand in that, the Longstaff brothers couldn't stay at Newcastle for a long time yet and contribute to the team. Sean was on a very different trajectory to a certain point. And you do wonder what would have happened if he'd taken a move somewhere else and what have you. But I know fine well, knowing some of the family as well as I do, they'd rather pull a black and white shirt on, and I think that's something we should nurture.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be an interesting few months ahead, that's for certain, with Newcastle hopefully securing the Premier League place, and then seeing, you know, who we decide to bring in, who we get rid of as well. Already talks of, as we discussed on last week's show, of new contracts for the likes of Shaw and Joe Linton and you know, Shelby, etc. Lots of things being mooted, lots to come up over the summer. That's for certain. Yano says, as a sports fan, I, like many others, were truly saddened to hear the passing of a true sporting giant. Shane Warne will forever be one of the world's greatest. Rest in peace. Michael Kelly says, evening, hope all is well. What are your thoughts on the reporter grilling Eddie Howe about Saudi involvement in wars, and should they be sanctioned? Disgraceful comments, I thought. Michael, I couldn't agree more. But you know what? Eddie Howe has an air of professionalism, and he had that from day one, because he got asked that question on day one, and he'll continue to be asked that question, I'm sure, about the Saudi involvement. Certain journalists who will remain nameless have once again taken to social media this week and slated the club, slated individuals. We've got to get used to it. It's going to happen, and we can't change it. We can't turn things around. Steve, it's great to see a manager who literally just sits there, keeps a straight face, because I'm sure at times he feels like going, but he just keeps a straight face. And he's just honestly, after years of listening to the likes of Bruce and Pardew and Kinnear, all embarrassments on this club at some point in time at press conferences, isn't it great just to watch a manager deal with the press in the correct way? He's better than Rafa, and I never thought I'd say that. He is better than Rafa.
You know what was really good? I mean, I'm saying really good about it. What was really professional about it was the complete contrast between him and Thomas Tuchel when he what can you say? There
was like this. He just clearly couldn't handle it, could he?
If he could have leaned any further forward, the camera, he would have been that, wouldn't he? Dear me, I've never seen anything like it. You know what? He did. Bruce did everything right. He batted it back. He took the topic, and he let them know again for the umpteenth time that he's not going to get embroiled in that conversation. How long is it going to be before those reporters, national, international, and local, twig on that they're not going to get a response from them? They're not going to get a bite out of them, so it's pointless asking the question. Ask the people who are there and are responsible for it. Ask the government ministers. Ask the government officials, ask the civil servants or whatever, that it's been done. Ask the Premier League. Ask Richard Masters when he's up on a stage. Don't come to Eddie Howe and ask him the question, because Eddie Howe's there to manage the football club. I was slightly critical of Thomas Tuchel because I thought that A, his reaction was poor, but B, it was more the fact that because he was being asked, he took umbrage at being asked full stop. And I thought, you know what? In this situation and where we are in this particular week and what's been going on, maybe you should have been a little bit more professional. Maybe you should have been briefed by the PR people and understood that question was almost certainly going to come and you were going to have to bat it up cleverly. But he didn't. But Eddie Howe did. And for that, we're grateful being Newcastle fans, as you say. They're just going to have to learn that he's not going to bite. He's not going to respond. He's there, as he says, as the coach of the football team. Full stop.
It's just refreshing, isn't it, Mitch, to have somebody who just knows what he's doing with the media.
Very. And somebody who obviously spends his time talking to the media team and listening to briefs and listening to what he should and shouldn't, and how he should and shouldn't be handling certain things. Look, when they're asking stuff like that of the manager, they're hoping the manager slips up somewhere and says something that they can make a big sensationalist headline out of. A bit like, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit, about the way they've twisted Amanda's words in the last 24 hours.
Look, you've mentioned it. Let's go for it, because obviously Amanda was on this, on the stage again, given her account on various things. Tell us what you think about that.
Well, and she must have known 100%. She's walking into the lion's den and putting her head in the lion's mouth. The Financial Times sponsored summit with the questions being asked by Tariq Panya, who's done nothing but be critical of the takeover, the individuals involved in the takeover, Saudi Arabia. He's even had to go to Rubens at one point about something else as well. So she must have known something's coming here. I think on the whole, with the words in context and the words put in the right way, she managed an answer reasonably well. I think she was a little naive and got a little carried away at times, but we know that's just prone to that anyway. And that's fine. That's part of the charm and the effervescence that makes her a driving force behind doing what she does at Newcastle United. But equally, she was also, I think, trying to keep the football world on side a little bit, which is a real delicate tightrope to walk. I don't see anybody else in the football world come out being openly critical and pointing fingers. And if she'd done that, that would have been another headline for them to have. And to have a go at not just Newcastle United, not just Amanda Staveley, but everything around it, and drag that back in. So it was a really difficult way to do it. She must have known she was walking into the lion's den, and I think performed reasonably well. I think, yes, you can take some of the words out of context and make it sensational. I think there's some journalists, the one that springs to mind is Craig Hope, must be spitting feathers at his headline writer, who's written a sensational headline which doesn't reflect the article he wrote at all. And if anybody's not seen or heard any of this, for me, there's only one article to go and read. Go and read Mark Douglas's article in the Eye.
Yeah, it's good.
It was the most straightforward, no drama, factual layout of what happened. And a number of other places, because of various agenda that we could sit and predict all day long. This is one of these weeks where Steve and I can sit back and go, told you so. It's just been one of them weeks. And so, it's been I think it was brave of her to take that question on the way she did. I don't agree with some of the wording she used. I think it could have been better phrased. It's allowed them to take it out of context. It's allowed them to have a stick. But you know what? Would I have done any better? Doubt it. I think I'd have made a right arse of it, to be fair. I think it was a really difficult position to be in, and fair play for us standing up and being counted through it. As I say, I think it would be wrong of me to dress it up as everything's flowery and nice. That would be sports washing. I think the comment about Roman Abramovich, like I say, I think was more about keeping the sporting world a little bit on side and trying to just appease the football people in there. Because bearing in mind today, you've got the chief sports writer of the BBC, Phil McNulty, writing a gushing article about Roman Abramovich's time at Chelsea. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's wicked, worth having a read, because I'm telling you now, they wouldn't write that about Saudi Arabia in 10 years' time when they walk away. There'll be 6 pages about God knows what else. And I think that's the thing that's wrong here, is there's so many different personal agendas going on. For Phil McNulty to write basically saying there'll never be another owner like Roman Abramovich. There probably won't be another owner who's, supported a war in Europe. But, it's really quite the contrast to the way we get treated. While the BBC seems to write every other week 6 pages of different parts of their website, which is anti-Newcastle United and anti-PIF and anti-Saudi. That's not to say that it's all rosy in the garden, because we know it isn't. We know there's questions that need being asked every day. We as
Question
a
need to
fan
be asked with all of these
asking
people.
them.
Yeah, exactly. Question needs to be asked about all football owners, man. Just because Manchester United's owners aren't on the front pages or don't have Saudi owners, there's questionable ownership across the board. Do you know what I mean? There's been, and that's part and parcel of football. It's up to the authorities that be to get it right. Do you know what I mean? With the owners and directors tests. That's where we're at, unfortunately. And look, any excuse to hammer Amanda. That is unfortunately the media. Once again, that man on TalkSport, whose name will not be mentioned, but used to be a chairman of a football club himself, who I've had plenty arguments with, once again uses his social media platform to have a dig at her. And he does it all the time. And he's done it again today. And from my perspective, those people have got agendas.
Do we not think the skeletons in his closet? Because I could tell one here right now.
Of course there is, but don't get the channel shut down. But
You two absolutely know I could.
I know you could.
And you know who it's about, and you know where it's come from.
Exactly.
And it's from the horse's mouth. He's got skeletons in his bloody closet.
Of course
he has. Some of them got out, he would be bloody embarrassed about. And this is it. They all sit there in the ivory towers pretending that they're holier than thou. Mm-hmm. And none of them are.
What's interesting about the whole thing, I'll come to the Amanda side of it in a moment, but the Phil McNulty article that you're talking about, Mitch, what you've got there is you've got a sports reporter who is focusing entirely on the sport, entirely on Abramovich, the football owner, and has decided to ignore Abramovich, the politician, Abramovich, the oligarch, Abramovich, the man. And if you look back in his history and find out how the money came, what he did with the money, how the money's been spent, his links to Berezovsky, etc., etc., etc. That's all washed away. That's forgotten about. If that, as you say, if that was being McNulty writing an article about Newcastle United and its owners in 10 years' time, it wouldn't mention anything. If the Saudis had walked away or if Al Ramayan walks away, it would pick on the political side of Newcastle United. That's my opinion. And that's the way it's sitting at the moment. Going back to Amanda, I think what we got there and what we had there in terms of what was written about and how out of context it was taken or whatever, what we saw, both yourself, Mitch, Steve, and myself, and others who know Amanda, what we actually saw and listened to was the human side. A woman who wanted to speak about the topic. She wanted to show that she cares about the club, she cares about the game, and she cares about people. And she's got a concern about the way that on a personal note, Abramovich has been treated in terms of the football side, because that's all it was. But as you say, you lift it out, you place it out of context. I criticised it. I posted up an article that was in The Athletic, and I posted the entire thing because I thought that it started off okay, and then it drifted. And as a sports paper, it drifted into the deep into the politics of Newcastle United and deep into the politics of Saudi Arabia and Saudi as a country, which has nothing to do with Newcastle United. And I did that, and I know one or two people felt, take it down. You shouldn't do that. Well, the reason I didn't take it down is because I didn't write it. I'm just passing it up. I'm just showing, and I'm saying, read it and make your own mind up on it. And I think people probably did. But it's that fine dividing line, and we've got to be aware that the names that you've mentioned, that the writers, So-called sports writers who want to delve into politics but don't have the depth of knowledge, or the sports writers who want to ignore it entirely in another context because it suits them with another football club. And this is the trap that we're all falling into, both fans like myself, like yourselves, and the sports writers, and the newspapers themselves that they're writing for. If they're a sports one, do they stick to sport, or do they delve into the geopolitics world? And when they do delve into the geopolitics world, then it annoys those of us who just want to read the sport. If we want to go to geopolitics, we can go to the Times, or we can go to the Guardian, or the Telegraph, or whatever. Or we can find out what we want from reading some fantastic articles, especially at the moment with regards to Ukraine and Russia and Belarus, etc., and the situation with NATO, and we can make our own mind up. We don't need these people to tell us what we think or what we should be thinking. It's harsh. I know it sounds harsh, but that's the way that I'm looking at it. I'm a football fan, and I'm interested in what Amanda has to say about Newcastle United going forward.
And on the human level though as well, we know how hard she fought to get this through, and how she felt, and how the amount of angst. And she's probably looked at him, put herself in that position, to say, "Wait, what happens if somebody turned around and said you've got to give us all your shares back?" And how would she feel? And she's probably feeling that on that human, that empathic level. Which again, that probably doesn't work well in big business of football. But that's reality. That's what she's like.
Yeah.
And I think also, she's been beaten with a number of other sticks. Somebody having to go about having to dilute the shares if they want to invest loads of money. Well, that's not big news. That was actually my issue with the trust and the pledge scheme, is once you've got your percentage, you need more money if somebody says, let's invest. That was the only criticism I ever had for it, was that ultimately one day that percentage would be diluted. And that's exactly the situation they've just given there. And they're making it out like it's some sort of big thing. Well, no, that's how investment in football clubs works. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But they use it as a stick to beat her with, like they used the Ashley court case, like they used the fact that there was a loan from the Rubens to PCP. They enabled the whole deal to go through. And they make it out like it's some sort of big deal. And it's not. That's just business. Businesswoman does business transaction in big business way. That's not a headline.
No, it's not. Let's just tackle this little elephant in the room as well. Obviously, we've made it quite clear on NUFC Matters 3 Amigos that we sometimes disagree. It might surprise everybody. We don't always agree. And I was just, on a ride of positivity. Newcastle unbeaten. Oh God, did I think I'd be saying that this season? But, I just felt that the storyline, which, to be fair, Stuart alluded to on Geordie's Here, Geordie's There on the Wednesday, about ASM potentially not going across there with a blessing, or maybe he's having a little bit of time off again, which he did. He's got a history of doing, let's face it. It became that proverbial snowball going down the hill, gathering snow. And of course, on Twitter, which some of our viewers, loyal viewers, aren't even on, it became, again, another stick to beat us with, to beat Keith with. Now, I came out and Liam came out. We're both on this platform. Obviously, I do it because it's my platform. Liam came out, who does the Tuesday show, and we both just said, look, we didn't name Keith. We just said, because there's been a variety of things, including Keith's tweet about ASM, why have negativity? Why come out with negativity at a time when unity's really seems to be working in the dressing room, and anything like that can build up momentum and can cause a bit of a storm that we don't really need. And, journalists will get these stories. If we get them, or you get them, or Keith gets them, or whoever gets them, then journalists will have them as well. And undoubtedly, that's sometimes where the story might come from. But just sit on it. At this moment in time, don't share it. Don't put it out there. If it becomes an issue, discuss it then. But it's not at the benefit of Newcastle United. That was the reason I put my tweet out. And I think it was taken in that respect. I never got any grief from it. I never got anybody hammering me. One or two people saying, is that Keith you're talking about? I said, well, yeah, Keith's one of the people I'm talking about, yeah, because I just felt there was no need to put it out there. That's my opinion. It doesn't mean I fell out with Keith. It doesn't mean I don't speak to Keith. It doesn't mean me and Keith are forever enemies. It just means I've got a different opinion to Keith on that particular situation. you lads might have a different opinion. I don't know. I just want to get it out there because football key Batine or whatever he's called has asked the question, and it was an elephant in the room for the week. It's now yesterday's newspaper wrappers. We're moved on. ASM could be fit to play tomorrow. We don't know. I would be very surprised if he's in the squad. We'll come to that later on. But the situation once again was just a social media drama. That's all it was, Steve.
Keith just raised the question of a player that he absolutely loves, by the way. Anyone who knows Keith and has listened to him spouting on about ASM will know that he's probably his favourite player at Newcastle United. Keith was probably, I don't know what. Keith was just raising the question. He was just putting out his opinion, his thoughts. He doesn't necessarily put things out for people to then question. He just puts out his own little thoughts. I wonder what's going on with ASM. If he is swinging the lead or if whatever it was, I cannot even remember now because it's been a fortnight ago. It seems to have caused more friction and more angst. Not Keith's piece, but the conversation about ASM in general seems to have caused more bother on other platforms as the week has gone on, and it's a conversation that people can have. You can have a conversation about whether you think a player should be in the team or not, whether you think a player is playing well or not. We've had, it went on for about 8 months with Joe Linton, with people just having a pop continuously. We then find a situation where ASM suddenly doesn't play against West Ham. He's part of the squad. He's going to be there, and then it's never mentioned that there's anything wrong with him, and then all of a sudden he's out of the team just like that, and then he's out of the country. So this is what happens. If anything, it shows the appetite is still there for people to know and to question and to talk about what's happening at Newcastle United, whether it's among the fans or among the media. It's interesting that some in the media did contact me and say, "Do you know anything more about this?" Because obviously, they were getting different stories and different opinions to the one that I had. And it's all fascinating. It's all fascinating. And then when their side of it starts to break down, and they start to query, I was told he was going to be back tomorrow. I was told he was going to be back yesterday. I was told he's been back for a week. I was told he was going to play last Saturday, etc., etc. And it just snowballs on, and you suddenly think there's more to this, but there's more to life. The fact is that Newcastle United for the last 2 games have put in some brilliant performances without them, and we've survived without them. So hey, happy days. That shows that there's a depth in the squad that even without the star that is ASM, the team itself can still shine bright. So it's forget it. It's gone. It's nothing. It's a nothing story. It's a nothing interlude in what is a fortnight without having to play a home game. And thankfully we're back at St James's Park tomorrow. It seems ages since we've been there, doesn't it?
It does, it does. Yeah, Mitch, look, it's water off a duck's back, any of this kind of stuff to me, mate. And it just felt, unnecessary. It really did. And some people thrive on it, as we know, on social media. They love to see a little bit of, infighting. They love to see people fall out. Some of it's done for mischief, but ultimately, it's about opinions, and that's all Keith had was an opinion. And some of us agreed, some of us disagreed.
Yeah, and I was aware of the information that Stu was given. I was given a few little bits and bobs as well. And we both sat down and said, look, at the minute, we're on the crest of the wave. We're doing really well. If you want to sit and rock the boat, you're going to look like a right monkey and you're going to attract flack, and there's no need for that. The stuff goes on in dressing rooms all the time. And I think the biggest difference these days is it's not just the local beat reporter that gets the wind of it. It comes out in some very weird and wacky ways. I mean, it's subsequently been told more stuff about ASM on his return to the country, which is very like the last time he returned to the country, and I just laughed that off as well. It's typical ASM, and I think what I think more than anything else is that this is testimony to Eddie Howe in the dressing room and the way he has the dressing room working and the man management skills he has. That if there has been a problem, it's been tucked away and kept really low key. and it's been resolved in a way that the entire dressing room seem happy with.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing here, is that everybody knows with a player like ASM, you've got baggage, for want of a better word. And do you, as a manager, as a captain, and as a squad with a leadership group within the squad, accept that baggage on occasion and say, well, that's just ASM. And that's fine. And everybody can get over it. Or are there people within the dressing room who just sort it out? Because we know that happens in dressing rooms too. But either way, what we see on the pitch is a United dressing room. What we see on the pitch is a United team. And that's all that matters. And I think there's no need to go rocking boats. However, that doesn't mean somebody's card isn't marked for future reference. And that's a very different thing. I think that's two very, very different things. That if somebody's too critical, you know what, let that go for now, but I won't forget it. And I think I don't want to put words in Stu's mouth here. I think I know why he feels the cards are marked for the ESM for him personally, and I get it, totally get it.
Yeah,
and so, but equally, there's a much bigger picture here, and that's Newcastle United Football Club. And we want to see it do well, continue doing well, and continue feeling good. Because all this, the only thing negativity does is attract more negativity, and that'll spark things off within the fan base again. And none of us need that shit, man. We need to be all looking in one direction, and that's forward and up the table.
You often find, though, in a situation like this, that the negativity can just be washed over when a team is playing well. Mm-hmm. The negativity goes through a squad like measles when they're playing badly. And if this had been last October, November, December, there'd been little stories like that, then Eddie Howe would have been hung out to dry by supporters. The fact is that we're winning. What I'm not prepared to do is to think that every single thing that Eddie Howe says should be taken as gospel and I should be bowing down to him, because I shouldn't, because I don't need to. Just because it comes from the mouth of Eddie Howe doesn't necessarily mean that it's true or it's right or whatever in certain contexts. So when I hear people say, well, Eddie said this, so it must be right, not necessarily. It doesn't mean that at all. Look at the bigger picture. Look at where the squad is. Do your research. Find out what's going on, and then make your own mind up and identify. And then, and you'll probably find that even when you do that, you don't need to talk about it and you don't need to push it out, because all it does is reassures you in your own mind that at the end of the day, the team is still winning games. The team is still moving up the table. And that little gap that we have between us and the relegation zone is getting wider, and that's the most important thing. Forget, like the word you used was baggage. Forget the chaff. Move on from it. We can talk about it for as long as we like. It's not going to affect the squad, because the mentality within the squad is strong enough, because the characters we've now got in the squad are leaders, and they'll sort out problems, like if there are problems with SM, in their own inimitable way, I'm sure. As Steve, you will know, and Mitch, you will know, if you've played football, how squads operate. And you know the personalities, and you know the people who stand up and put certain other people in their places. And I'm sure that will happen, not just now, but also going forward in the next 4 or 5 years at St James's Park, as that squad gets more and more leaders within it in certain.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. I'm actually having a little bit of a difficulty here. I'm not sure whether you can hear me twice. Can you?
No.
No, right. Okay, maybe it's just me hearing a little bit of feedback. Just technical side of stuff. What's that?
Just faintly. Just hear you twice faintly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try and sort it out. I've got technical issues with loading pictures, and its StreamYard seems to be a bit of an issue at the moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip out for a second.
You're not going through a Russian server, are you?
Could be. It could be that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to play the day we met. It's the system that's cocking up, I'm afraid, lads. Bear with us. Okay, here we go. We're going to go for the day I met. Okay, the day I met, that's better, I can hear myself now, is this one sent in by David Rennick. He goes, I've got loads more, but I feel that that's the most iconic quadret, near enough possible to not love this club with a moment and memories like those as a young'un. So here we go. He's got Pavel.
Brilliant.
Keegan. Alan Shearer and Andy Cole.
Brilliant, them.
Brilliant.
Fantastic, that, mate. Thank you, David, for sending this in. I've got a load of these to come, by the way, but unfortunately, it's just trying to catch up with them all. So you may have sent some of these last year, and I know David definitely did. Don't worry, if you've sent them in and you've sent them to us, we are coming to them, but we could only fit so many in per show. But thanks for sending them in, David. Absolutely brilliant, mate. And keep them coming in the day I met. Now, as you know, John from QTech has his weekly clue, which builds up into 4 answers, and then you win a prize. So we'll get to that now. Sabat was the first one. And the second clue was this. During his professional career, the player in question played in every outfield position bar goalkeeper. That was last week's clue. So this week's clue is this. Tulsa Roughnecks, 1981 to 1982. So you should have 3 answers now. Jot the answer to that one down. And next week, we will have the final clue. And then we will go to the chat for the correct answer. And John will award the prize. So thanks for that, John. Food Bank T-shirt is still up for grabs. It's the Peter Beardsley one. If you want to get onto Twitter, it is up there. And I believe, as we're on air, I think I've just had one of those messages that we occasionally get on a Friday. And yes, we have. It's from George Hayes. George Hayes has bid and donated already £200 for the T-shirt into the Newcastle West End Food Bank's account. So the Peter Beardsley T-shirt, which at this moment in time is at the top of my Twitter at Steve Wraith. The bid, the highest bid was 50 with D Not. 1979, he bid £50, or she bid, I'm not quite sure, but I would imagine it's a lad. So yeah, George has put donated £200. I'm not putting it on Twitter as I may be upsetting people. I don't think you are, mate. And he says, I really don't need a T-shirt. So he's donated £214 to the food bank, it actually says. Brilliant. So yes, at the moment, you've donated the winning amount. So thanks once again, George, which means that unless somebody can bid a £1 more, then George once again will be the winner. Don't forget as well, we've got some events coming up over the next couple of weeks that would like you to attend. There is a NUFC Matters Live at the Marlborough Social Club, Saturday the 9th of April. 12 o'clock, Newcastle play on the Friday. Tickets are a tenner from newcastlelegends.com. Super Mac Gibbo, me and Holly will be there talking Newcastle United, so get yourself along. And our summer do is up for grabs on Groupon and Voucher, £7.50 a ticket. And Viva Morrissey is going to play 17th of June at the Irish Centre. Doors 7 o'clock. Get yourself along. A lot of the NUFC Matters crew will be there that night. I'm also doing a firewalk. Please support the firewalk. World record firewalk. It's www.wrfirewalk.co.uk, Saturday the 14th of May. And you can join my team by entering the code NUFCM at checkout. And I'm doing that for the Bradley Lowry Foundation. So get yourself along if you can. And we've also got the Shearer event, which is selling quite quickly. The 260 dinner, 260dinner.co.uk is the website that you need to go to for tickets for that, and it is selling quite quickly. Only 45 tables for that. You can buy individual tickets. A lot of people asking if you want to buy a couple of tickets, just go to the website, drop an email in, and Danny will sort you out. And I will be at the Dog and Parrot tomorrow with Supermac, 1 o'clock, and then round about 5:30 after the game. So if you want to come along and meet Supermac, please do. Don't forget as well, the food bank is going to be outside the ground. You can pop along and get a photo with Steve Hasty, who will be there as usual. And if you can't get to the match, get yourself onto the website, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. Go to the match day bucket and you can make a virtual donation that way. And a lot of people asking about the pool night. I've had a few people asking. John from QTech is going to sort that out. There will be an announcement on that probably in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to give a shout out to the sponsors now. Thanks to Spider VPN for all your internet security needs. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the search list, and they are the boys to trust. Thanks also to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors 01913897245 and to Garden of Healing Dispensaries, CBD Hemp and Cannabinoid Specialists. You can find them at www.thegohd.com. Thanks to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. Get yourself down to Heaton Road in Newcastle or Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the search list too. And qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend in Newcastle. Thanks also to Kleekai. You can find him at Google Play and App Store or kleerun.game. Meet the new game takeover screen. Drop into a Kleerun device near you. And thanks to Jab Signature and to Media Arts for all of our video content. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit Newcastle Legends in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans and to leave a question. Subscribe as well if you haven't already. And we're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has gone live. And why don't you become a cult member? Well, you can do that by putting your phone over the QR code or going to the website, nufcmatters.com. And for £25 one-off payment, you get a pen, a membership card, a cup and a scarf, and entry into the monthly draw where we give away some pretty splendid prizes. And on the website, we are selling those T-shirts for the Everton game. He's only got little arms and a picture of England's number one with little arms. But yes, and 50% of that goes to the food bank. So get your T-shirt today. Okay, back to the chat. And this was interesting. Terry put this one in. He goes, what's your thoughts on Fraser being nominated for Player of the Month? He's been amazing, but I think Joe Linton should have been nominated instead. Yeah, we've got this rare scenario where we've got our manager and some of our players, you know, up for honours. It's great, Steve, isn't it? But yeah, what do you make of what Terry's asking?
It's a good point. I mean, Joe Linton has been the sort of form player for the last 2 months now, but I think what we've seen with Ryan Fraser has been a transformation, nearly as good as the transformation that we had from Joe Linton. I thought Fraser was outstanding last week, and I thought consistently outstanding the week before. But last week, playing on the left-hand side, the difference I've had this conversation with a number of people, the difference you get with a left-sided player like Fraser playing on the left-hand side who can cross a ball is that when he puts that cross in with his left foot, it's coming in absolutely perfectly on the trajectory for a running in striker of the likes of Chris Wood. As opposed to if you have to cut back and you put it in and the ball's swinging out. That makes a massive difference. It might only be a second, but it makes a massive difference to the striker. And that was proved when the ball went over the top and they ended up with Joe Linton heading the ball in, coming in after Wood. For me, it's much better. I'm not one of these for cutting in and, you know, playing a left-hand side on the right and right-hand side on the left. But Fraser has worked his socks off since he got into that team. His work rate has been phenomenal. His attitude has been absolutely first class. And we're suddenly seeing, like we did with Joe Linton, the player that Eddie Howe had at Brighton, the player that made him a Scottish international, and the player we thought we didn't have, because we've all been critical of him. We all question whether he should be in the squad. We all question whether he was the right caliber of person, whether he had the right attitude. But now that he's fit, and I tell you what, he takes a kicking as well, doesn't he? I mean, dear me, he's been kicked and kicked and kicked across that park for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and he's bounced back up. And I think the lad deserves to be nominated as part of the official Player of the Month. Whether Joe Linton should be in there, there's nothing to stop you having 2 players in. They could have done that for you, but there again, controversial, I suppose, if they did that. I bet it's happened with other clubs, but it would never happen with us.
Other clubs.
It's just great. It's just great to think that we've got players that are now putting performances in that are worthy of being nominated for Player of the Month. And as for Eddie Howe, well, I think there's the run that we've been on, from where we've came from to the run we've been on, the attitude that he's got within his squad, the way that he's stuck by it, the way he's now got a formation, he's got a plan, he's adaptable. Without tinkering, he's not a tinker man. He just adapts to situations, and we're now also seeing him bringing substitutes on that little bit earlier in a game, and probably becoming more effective with the change, as opposed to waiting until 3 or 4 minutes to go. All of that's part of learning, because he's learning about his squad, he's learning about the players he's got, and he's got the confidence as well. And that's the same with Jason Tyndall and the rest of his backroom boys. So, hey, I'm happy as a sound boy at the minute. Happy as a sound boy. And I just add, and I'm sure it'll crop up later on, somebody's bound to mention it, we're not conceding goals anymore. We were conceding goals. The goals were going in like confetti. Now, I mean, we've only scored, I think, conceded 3 goals since the turn of the year. Phenomenal, absolutely brilliant for a back 4 that was getting criticised, and for the changes that we've had to make, bringing Dan Burn in, losing Kieran Clark, losing Lascelles, losing Trippier, losing Manquillo, having to bring Kraft in, bring Target in, all of those changes, and yet steadily growing in confidence, growing in strength, and not conceding and playing as a team. It's great, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, Mitch, it's great, isn't it, to have players just being, linked with that kind of honour, and Eddie Howe deserves that award.
How certainly does. And I think when it comes to the difference between Joe Linton and Fraser, you've got to remember these things are being nominated by people outside of the club. Where deep in the heart of it, we've seen the steady rise of Joe Linton. But equally, we've been talking about that for a couple of months. To someone from the outside looking in, Ryan Fraser's just suddenly appeared out of nowhere at top form. Bam. And I think that, to somebody making those nominations, probably stands out more than the change in Joe Linton, which has been a long, ongoing metamorphosis. Whereas the Fraser change looks like, well, he just suddenly come from nowhere and turned into a different player. And I think that's probably why the difference in nomination would happen, because it's done by people not with the heart in the club. If we were nominating it, it would be different. Of course, it would be different. And Howe certainly deserves every bit of accolade he gets. My concern on getting that award is that Klopp's won a trophy, and I suspect there'll be a bunching together to kick the vote that way. But do you know what? Doesn't matter about manager of the month awards. He'll be our manager of the year when he keeps you up. So. But it is nice. It's nice to be talked about properly. It's nice to be talked about in the football media without mentioning of the sideshow and the politics and the geopolitics. Just purely concentrating on the thing that matters the most to us, which is the football. And it's nice to have that, and long may that continue. If we were to scoop a couple of awards this month and take both, that would stick in the craw so many people. I would love to see that. I think that would be fantastic. I don't think it'll happen, but that's my take on why I think Fraser's there as opposed to Joe Linton, because I think the people looking outside in suddenly he's had this 4-game run where he's looked like a monster, a 3'6" monster, but a monster nonetheless.
Yeah, life goes. Unfortunately, not. It's the one away game I just kind of get to over the next couple of weeks. Got me tickets for Chelsea, got me tickets for Everton, and hoping to go to Spurs as well. But I'll just not get to Southampton. If you're going to Chelsea or you're going to Spurs, definitely be able to say you mate. Southampton, absolute nightmare. The way that they flick the switches, some of the fixtures around, and that's just a no-go for me, mate. I just genuinely can't get there that particular day. So it's one I'm going to miss, unfortunately. Okay, as always, we've got another one of our regular segments. So it is Tweet of the Week. Tweet of the Week, where you tend to tag us in some absolute belters on Twitter, and there has been a few this week, as always. This one from Kirk, he goes, Eddie Howe to be the first English manager to win the Premier League. Sky bet, the quest to bet. So then Sky's request to bet goes, apologies, Kirk, this isn't something we will be looking to offer. So Kirk replies, Mackham.
Brilliant.
This one I know is I've already had part 2, Jeff, but Eddie Howe's Trail of Misery. I can see he's just going to continue adding to this, I hope. But I did get that, Jeff. I did chuckle when I saw it. I know you're in the chat, mate. Thank you for that. Obviously, we can't, look away from what's going on in Ukraine. It's horrendous loss of life, and we don't really know where this is going to end. And I just picked this out. This 80-year-old man showing up to join the army. With a small case with 2 T-shirts, a pair of extra pants and a toothbrush and a few sandwiches for his lunch. He said he was doing it for his grandkids. I mean, this is where we're at now, people. It's tragic and tragic loss of life. We just got to hope that there's some kind of resolution can be found in the next few days, because if not, it's only going to get worse. But thoughts with everybody out there in the Ukraine who is having to deal with this horrendous situation. This kind of thing we thought would put back, put to an end in the 1940s. But it's clear that we've got another idiot on the loose, and the sooner he stopped, the better. Paddy Power, they've been on fire this week. Leeds and Everton watching Newcastle disappear into the distance in the league table. I have got another one from them in due course. This was good, Steve, from LNER.
Yes. Hi, NUFC. Are you travelling with us back to Newcastle? We'll send the train manager down to charge for those extra tickets. We've had a tip off that Joe Linton may be carrying the Brentford back four in his pocket. Cameron. Thank you, Cameron. Brilliant.
Very good.
I think Cameron might be from Newcastle.
I think so. Trevor Sinclair as well, giving us a different slant. This guy's a good guy, Trevor Sinclair. He goes, Kieran Trippier going above and beyond at the Brentford Community Stadium for that big bag of cash. And then he tagged Simon Jordan in. And you know what? It's just great. And I've mentioned it already this week on the show, but, I was lucky enough to sit a couple of seats away from Kieran. And that guy is already as mad as all of us Newcastle fans. He was within reason, living and breathing every single kick of the ball. It was great to see. Okay, the next one was from the food bank, Steve. And this was just a nice quote, I thought, Steve.
Yes. I'm managing Newcastle United Football Club, and I don't think it gets any better, said Eddie Howe, the NUFC manager, after being interviewed by Kelly Summers on BBC Sports Football Focus earlier, and he spoke of galvanised the club as one and paid tribute to NUFC supporters. You know what? It's brilliant. The way that he's talking, absolutely superb. He even mentioned Wor Flags and the atmosphere and that the fans are generating at St James's Park in his press conference today. So refreshing to hear. So refreshing. Brilliant.
It is. Big difference. Paul Mann says, my name is Paul, and I also once slated the great Joe Linton. I am also in recovery. Lots of people putting things out like that at the weekend. The guy is immense.
And I'm one of them as well. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm in that category.
And Supermac and Gibbo, two of his biggest critics, it has to be said. This was about the cup final from Mark Byers. Is this game sponsored by Papa Cisse? There was more offsides in that cup final than I've ever seen in my life. And what a penalty shootout that was, by the way, lads. I'm glad it was. I'm glad we weren't involved in it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not a goalkeeper either.
Yeah, especially the one who missed the penalty. Paul Johnson says, get Steve Bruce to manage Russia against Ukraine. That'll solve the problem. It's a good point. I do like these photo ones that Ian Hull tends to tag us in. No, nurse. I said slip off his spectacles. Thought you'd appreciate that one, Neil.
Yeah. You mistake to make.
He's a mistake to make, he says. Tunes. We're going to champion this lad. He's a top lad. I see him quite a bit at home games. He's come up with a new tune. Okay, Holly, if you're watching, here goes. Abra Dubravka. He's going to reach out and grab ya. Abra Dubravka. He's going to reach out and grab ya. To the tune of Abracadabra by Steve Miller Band. Great stuff, eh?
I was wondering what the tune was. I'm glad he tagged it on the end.
How wise of you not to attempt a tune, Steve. That's what you should have said. That's what my mate Dave Beanie would say to us. Sean Casey put this up. Steve Bruce's comments to the press are baffling. I told the players they needed to outscore the opponent. It's about an accumulation of goals, but they just don't seem to get it. That was as West Brom manager. Like goals. Bruce, score more goals than them, lads. That's war team talk today. Carol, who's starting though, Gaffer? Bruce, I don't mind war, lad. Just score more. Carol, but Bruce, war, lads. I've got some oranges for half time. See you then. Thank you, Dom K, for sending that. He says it was tweet of the week. Not quite, but it was a good one. This was good as well. I got sent this one on Instagram, and it was just Martin Dubravka at Brentford. You can see him having a cup of tea in goal. He's sitting playing Connect 4, sitting on the corner of the crossbar. But that was quite good. Yeah, he did have a quiet afternoon, and the one time he was pulled in for a save, he saved it. Jimmy Moore, becoming a legend on this program, mate. After nearly a year and a half, I finally decided to shave the beard. Thank God. Baby faced, he says. There you go. Yeah, Jimmy, it got a lot of reaction, that, mate. It's good to see the Toon Army taking you under their wing on Twitter. You seem to be having a good old time, mate. And yeah, I know what you feel, mate. I did the same myself. Fresh as a baby's backside today, mate. Really good. David Shepherd, welcome to the cult. Cult member 119. So brilliant. Welcome, David. Welcome into the fold. Good to see you there, mate. And good luck with the prize draw. Pancake Day, of course. I don't know whether you had pancakes, lads, but this one was doing the rounds. Ian Edgar sent it to us. It's Pancake Day. Here's a picture of some tossers. Yeah, very good. Did like that one as well. This one, Newcastle United put this out. Ryan Fraser's been nominated by the Premier League for Player of the Month award for February. Well deserved. Voting is now open. Ben Hughes at the bottom put, very fitting for him to win it in the shortest month of the year.
Oh, cruel.
I think he's been listening to Kieran Trippier. This was a good one. New London-based consortium is planning to buy Chelsea from Roman Abramovich.
That's past that.
The lads from Only Fools and Horses, of course. And this one, that was from the day I met. I knew I'd lost one. The day I met David Crone. So there you go. We'll put that in. Paul Sweeney. Wearing a rather dapper leather jacket on the left-hand side. To David, I knew I'd lost that. That was brilliant, mate. Thanks for sending that in. Here is the tweet of the week. And this, you will never be forgotten. Bielsa's interpreter.
The poor lad.
Poor lad. Honestly, what a job he had for a couple of years.
He didn't know wrong. He gets the sack.
Standing in front of the TV cameras, that was it. Yeah, but fantastic. Thanks for all of those. Keep them coming in. It's always great to get the tweets of the week. We'll have more next week. Okay, Richard Morris put this in about Wor Flags. They're going to be in the stand tomorrow, Steve. That's going to be a bit different, isn't it? I like the idea of them swapping around, going around the ground. And I think if we could ever have a situation where everyone's got flags, it would be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought that the Leazes flags displays have been fantastic. I don't know whether it's put to the stand, the fact it's a bit more open, etc. But I thought compared to the Gallagher end, it was refreshing to see, but B, I thought it looked more spectacular, and especially when those with the flags were waving them when we scored goals and things like that. But it's going to be very interesting to see it on the East Stand. It's going to wake a few up. I used to sit in the East Stand myself. I know what it's like. I know what it was like.
Say that when the sun's out.
Exactly. You need more than shades, I tell you. But I think the very fact that there's been people asking in the East Stand to get involved. Obviously, people in the Leazes end were asking and wanted to get involved, and I think if it catches on, there's no reason why it couldn't be in all four stands. The lads are doing a fantastic job, really, really good job, and I think there's probably also something gonna happen tomorrow in terms of a little bit of show solidarity towards the people of Ukraine as well, which will be interesting to see how that catches on. I think the club's doing something. I think players are wearing specially prepared armbands, and there's going to be a display on the board everywhere, which is the reason why the Chinese TV company decided not to take the game. Surprise, surprise, because they don't want to get involved in politics. That's not like China, is it? But, let's leave that one for another day. But yeah, it's going to be really good, and I think I just hope my pals get into the East Stand out of the strawberry in time to actually wave their flags. So get yourself in there, Tony. You're gonna have to leave it a couple of minutes earlier than normal.
See everybody getting involved, mate, and just the way the club's changed in such a short space of time. I mean, we knew it was there, but it's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, I've heard a rumor it's just a big tartan blanket, isn't it? The flag for the East Stand. It's gonna be some guy tucking it in around the corner, getting his flask out, Look at getting everybody involved in any way, shape, or form in pre-match. There's got to be so much better than the bland, asinine thing that the pre-match experience had become over the last 14 years. And to have a group of lads and lasses who've been allowed to take a spark and let it ignite into something and see the fans in the ground get behind it wholeheartedly, fantastic. And we need more of that. And the thing is now we've got an ownership who I think will run with things sometimes. And they'll not get everything right, but we'll forgive them for it because the things they do get right, they'll explode like this. And I think that's fantastic. You cannot see anything else.
When you're in the 1892 and you're sitting at the table, maybe it's 2:45, 2:50, and you hear the guys next to you go, "Oh, yeah, let's get in there now. I've heard this. Let's see what the display is going to be today." And there's like all of a sudden there's like 20 or 30 people here. I'm like, "Oh yeah, forgot about this. Let's get in." And so there's people going in because they want to see what the display is going to be. It's caught on in that way, and that's amazing. I mean, we're talking about a supporter base that, if they could get away with it, would walk into St James's Park at 1 minute to 3. It's always been like that, hasn't it? But we've now got people saying, "God, it's 10 to. Let's get in. We want to see what the display is. Not let's see what the team is, or let's see what whether there's going to be X, Y, or Z going on the pitch, or whether there's dancing girls or whatever. They want to see the display. The Gallagher flags, the Wor Flags, it's been taken on to the next level. And the rest of the fan base are so appreciative of what's going on. And if people who perhaps weren't aware that you can actually make a donation now to Wor Flags to help them do even better displays, so just go onto their website and have a look and do so if you can. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, James says the club should pay for extra flags using Gail's salary. I like it.
I don't know. A couple of people like Gail will stick with that one.
A couple of people saying there's problems when I'm moving forward. Yeah, I think it's the internet here, guys. There's an issue with the internet today. And look, as long as the show is broadcasting, as long as you can see it, and as long as you can hear us, that's all that matters. But it's clearly an issue with the internet today. Doesn't often happen, but at least we can still broadcast today, which is great. Yeah, Ryan says, regardless whether he's past fit or tomorrow or not, I wouldn't start ASM tomorrow. I think he'd be better off on the bench in the last 30 minutes. Long-term picture is important. What's your thoughts? We'll come to that in the second half of the show. Around about 7 o'clock, mate, we will do. So don't worry about that. Yeah, we are United. We'll be at the Dog and Parrot. Make sure you're there for 1 o'clock, mate. That would be good to see you. Make sure you introduce yourself. Alan says, Amanda saying the owners are here for 20 years. Yeah, I mean, it's a long period of time that, look, it's great that she's enthusing about it, Alan. I'd love to think that she would be. And, let's just see what happens. And, there's lots of big things going to happen. And Dan Ashworth's one of them, Steve. And I think we called it on here, a couple of weeks ago. We probably think that Dan Ashworth, once we've played Brighton, will be announced. I think it's almost like a courtesy thing. He's been on garden leave, Steve. I expect him to be announced next week.
Yeah, he's got all the bulbs planted, and he's ready to get stuck in at Newcastle United now. Yeah, I think that seems to be the opinion, that it's sooner rather than later that we'll have Dan Ashworth back at the football club. Maybe we're now turning, as you say, get the Brighton game out of the way, and we're into March. Certainly not much longer. You know what? Bring it on. Let's. Amanda says 20 years, and you're saying that people might be looking at and saying that's a long time. You know what? We had Mike Ashley for 14. It flew over. Absolutely flew over. You can't believe that was 14 years ago. And that was 14 years of hurt. If we can get 20 years of success, or even 5 years of success in the next 20 years under the current owners, we'll be absolutely over the moon. We'll be delighted. It's a club. It's a club going forward. It's a club in transition. It's going to change so much over the next 20 years, and it's just something to really, really look forward to. I'm just looking and thinking, how old will I be in 20 years? And I'm probably not going to mention it, because then you'll be thinking, Christ, he will be going to match with that tartan blanket again.
Yeah, I mean, this it's just something great to look forward to. If that is the case, and we're only at the beginning of the journey, Mitch. That's the thing, isn't it?
Look, you can pluck any number of years out of the air, and that's probably what's been done there. What the implication is commitment, long-term commitment, not just to the club, but to the city, the community, the region, the fan base, everything that makes Newcastle United tick. And it's a commitment that has a partnership feel about it. And I think that's why everybody buys into it.
Yeah.
Let's not be naive. Businessmen will do business to make money. And of course that's happening long term as part of this the project, or whatever you want to call it. But what Amanda's absolutely laying down there with her words is commitment. And I think in a time when things have flipped this week from Saudi money isn't welcome in the Premiership to, they must be kicking themselves that they haven't waited and bought Chelsea. So suddenly the money's good for everybody now. And it reaffirms that commitment, that there was only ever really one club for us. Yeah. Because like we said literally years ago, the best value proposition in the Premiership was Newcastle United on so many other levels. If they'd wanted a value club in London, West Ham was the club to go for. Stadium, academy reasonably well done, and asking price under $1 billion. They wouldn't have sticking 3 or even 2 billion into Chelsea is not a value proposition, because they're businessmen at the end of the day. And so it's really important that the commitment to this process and the development of Newcastle United is reaffirmed and underscored as any opportunity possible. And that's exactly what she's done there, and done it using very good language that we've all responded to. And Steve's right, we know what 14 years of being soulless feels like. What the hell does 20 years of being joyous feel like? It's more than the polar opposite, isn't it? It's so much more than the polar opposite. 20 years time, you probably find me on a beach in Thailand, absolutely off me nuts with delight, because we're picking up our 3rd Champions League in a row or whatever. It's something that the legacy that will filter down to generations of fans. I'm quite jealous in some ways of our Joss. There's some of the things he's going to experience over the next 20 years. that I wish I could look in that mirror 30 years ago and do it myself, you know. And that's the legacy we're passing on, and the batons we're passing on to the next group of fans that come through, like we've done before. You know, as we've all written in fanzines, written in the media, we pass that baton on to others to do after it's been too much for us to carry it one time. And as a fan base, you know, we've got so much to look forward to, and that commitment is reaffirmed nearly every week at the moment. And it's nice that they feel that they want to reaffirm that commitment, and they're not doing that as lip service to us. It feels almost like two fingers to the rest of the football world. We're here, and we're here because we want to be here. And it's a big statement.
Yeah. Brian Johnson says, evening, can you please stop Steve Wraith from singing? How are Brian? No need for that on a Friday, end of the week. And Tunes is to blame for sending such great songs. And that was in tune. Hi, lads. Am I right in saying that the Leazers end, when I was a lad, all NUFC, and the away supporters were in the Gallagher end? This would be late 60s, early 70s, or am I going senile? Tom, you're not going senile, mate. You are right on that score. Okay, we do like to have a laugh on this show, as you know, and there is always one man to give us that, and it's Elliot Slesser. So this week's joke is, I told the female doctor that my tennis elbow was hurting. She said, how many years have you had it for? I said 15, love.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
I love that. Absolute belter. Elliot Slesser, good luck, son, in the snooker. He's back on the green baize. And always good to see him out on the road. We're going to get him on the show. We've got a couple of big names lined up from the world of sport. Chris Dobie's going to come on, of course, done well in the darts. And Elliot Slesser's going to come on as well. Looking forward to having the lads on, both big tune fans. So Elliot was on in the old Instagram days, of course, when me and Mitch started the show off. So it'll be good to get him on the proper platform at some point. Maybe he'll tell a few jokes. Who knows? Wor Flags have just put this out. They're busy. While we're sitting here whiling away the hours on the internet, they are busy, and already it's starting to take shape. It's got a great look, hasn't it? The pitch at night. It's always one of my favourites, but absolutely fantastic to see that. And as always, time to get the laughing gear out and go for the tune lookalike. Noticed a trend in Steve Hasty lookalikes again this week. There's been a few, Steve. There's been a few. It started with this, with Rachel, who said, Steve Wraith, you called it tune lookalike, Old Hitonian and Barney. To which you replied, Spencer isn't happy.
And he wasn't.
That's it, you see, Rachel. You don't want to upset Spencer, otherwise you'll be in trouble. This one from Gareth Vardy, one of our sponsors at Spider VPN. Yeah. Josh Sargent from Norwich and Screech from Save from the Bell were definitely separated at birth.
They were, mate. Definitely. Excellent, that one, Gareth. Well spotted.
Superb, Gareth. Thank you for that, mate. And thanks for jumping on board as well with the with Nathan for the Shearer do. Looking forward to seeing you there. And this one, again from Gareth. Every time I see Thomas Tuchel, my mind goes back to the Channel 4 pub lookalike. Actually, Pub looks like he's going mad about being asked questions about war there, like, so definitely a good lookalike. We've got some really good ones this week. This one,
that's Jimmy
Bullard, isn't it?
Bullard, isn't it?
Bullard,
yeah.
Aye.
Which one's Jimmy Bullard?
I can see where you're coming from, Lee. This one was from. Now, who sent us this? Was it Al Walid? I think it was. And I think he says, yeah, Toon lookalike Bruno. So that's obviously a journalist of some description in Saudi.
Right.
But Al Walid sent us that, and he says that looks a little bit like Bruno. So yeah, I can see it, Al Walid. I can see it. This one from Kenny Ranson, he said, we're doing South Shields in Harley's bar, and Mick Hucknall walks in. Now, I thought he was going to say that was Steve Hasty or Colaccini, but it's actually, yeah, it does look a little bit like Mick Hucknall. I think he's think he's I know it's a strange photo anyway, but yeah, thanks for that, Kenny. This one from Rocky Toon, Zlatan and the Bosnian basketball player Nihad Derovic.
That's brilliant, that one.
They could be brothers.
Yeah.
Genuinely could be brothers. Definitely separated at birth. This one from Tom Dixon, Alex Crowell and Colaccini.
Right.
Certainly similar mop.
Yeah, similar mop. I know we've got another couple from Tom Dixon. We've got this one. Arsene Wenger and Blanche from Coronation Street. And Robbie Savage and either of Jedward, he says. Which is good. Tom spends a lot of time on these.
He does, doesn't he?
And this one, Mike Ashley and Bobby from King of the Hill.
Brilliant.
Very good.
Which is pretty good. This one, which again, Tom, I'm sure we've had this before. Slade,
Noddy Holder,
and Steve Hasty.
Oh,
Just say it's Christmas, Steve.
February or March now.
Terry Armstrong sent this one. He says, I've just seen Steve Hasty getting a bit extra money working security at the City Hall.
Damn, spotted it. Shit.
Is that a woman?
God knows.
Anybody with white hair and it's game. It's game over.
That's basically it.
We've had this one as well, but Spenny sent this in. Didn't take him long. Leeds United lookalike. Bielsa working working behind a till, which is poor Bielsa, poor interpreter. Sam Chipperfield says, since when did Steve Hasty play John Palmer on Home and Away?
No idea, Sam. Don't know what you're talking about.
Sorry, but I lost your granddad, mate, as well. Seen your stuff up there on social media. This one was sent from JP. That classic I'm looking down on him scene from back in the day. And he's got Dan Byrne, Bruno, and I think that's Ryan Fraser, isn't it? I'm not sure. Yeah. See what you've done there, mate. But yeah, very good. Okay, coming into the business end. This is the top four. Colour coats, thank you. Says, I'm putting this in for a lookalike. It's you taking a haymaker from David Batty. Oh, God, that's brilliant, mate. Brilliant, yeah. Very good. Very good. It made us laugh anyway. Andy Davies says, Steve Wraith, this is a lookalike of Steve Hasty. Can he walk into any Wetherspoons and get served straight away? Because he doesn't have to pay for anything. He says he looks a bit like Tim Martin.
I wish I could. Dear me.
This one from Wayne Bennett. Lookalike for Friday's show, American actor, musician Rick Gonzalez, and our very own Bruno Guimaraes.
That's good.
Definitely see that one. Very good. Very good.
And the winner, and this isn't the first time one of these people has been in the top position. But you know why it's been doing the rounds. Has Buller and Richard Keys. That's going to be the best one for weeks. That it's absolutely. So Rob Hanaway, thank you. You have won tweeted lookalike of the week. That was absolutely brilliant. Keep them coming in. Brilliant. I've already got a few coming in already, so keep them coming in. Send them to me, send them to Steve, send them to Mitch, or tag us all in, and we'll all have a laugh at them next Friday. If you want to search through my Twitter as well, I have been linking up with football prizes. Basically, they do a raffle. Now, the ASM one sold out in record time. They've done the Shearer one. That's nearly sold out. Just pushing football prizes a little bit to help them out. And that one should be done, I would imagine, now. So there is going to be a new one going up tonight, and it's going to be Joe Linton. So follow my Twitter at Steve Rafe for details on that. It'll go up probably around about 8 o'clock tonight, and a chance to win a Joe Linton signed shirt, which is fantastic. I know he's got a Trippier one on the way as well, and the new Food Bank T-shirt, which will go up at 7 o'clock or round about then, is this. You will have seen a few of the lads wearing it. So John's knocked one up. ASM, I think it's ASM, on a Hawaiian shirt. So that's going to be the next Twitter T-shirt. I'll stick that up. You've got a week to bid for it. All proceeds, once again, going to the food bank. And as I say, it's bang on 7 o'clock now. I don't think anybody bid whilst we've been on air. Let me just double check. No, George has won. So £214 he has donated to the food bank. Well done, George. Thanks very much. And he doesn't want the T-shirt. So I guess as long as Dean puts in the £50, then Dean will get the T-shirt. I think that's the way it normally works. So Dean, thank you. George, thank you. Much appreciated. You've gone a long way to helping people out, which is what it is all about. And amazing, just the generosity of Jody, Steve, for the food bank. And once again, you're up there again tomorrow. Usual time, usual spot.
Yes, everybody will be there tomorrow. You know what? Things are. I mean, this is first thing to say is this is our last home game for a couple of weeks. We've got away games coming, so it's going to be, I think, is it the 9th of April when we'll be back at St James's Park for the Wolverhampton Wanderers game. So that's quite a gap. The demand for the food bank is tough as ever. And it's there. I've spent a little bit of time over the last couple of weeks with John McCurry. I've spent a bit of time just really refamiliarising myself with what's been happening. But we've also got the added situation of in the next few weeks or so, you can imagine that will be people coming from Ukraine as refugees. Not necessarily seeking asylum, but just seeking support until such time as they can get back, and hopefully they will be able to get back. But that's not to say that we're doing it in that, for that particular cause. There are people in the Northeast who have been struggling for an awful long time and will continue to struggle, and will continue to support. We support everybody who needs it. And the work that the staff do there is absolutely fantastic. The volunteers, the people in the warehouse, everybody who gets involved. And the only reason that it has its, and I've used the word in inverted commas, success, because it's not a success to be having to be there. It's very much the fact that because of the situation, Newcastle fans are willing to go that extra mile and support the food bank in this particular instance, in this particular time, that we're able to support it in the manner that we do, and it's very, very successful from that perspective that we're helping the community at this particular time. So huge thanks to everybody who comes along on a match day, everyone who supports, everyone who's making donations and bidding for the T-shirts and all of the other stuff that's going on. The people who do their own collecting, and every single volunteer, those who shake the buckets, those who come along to chat, everybody. It's a united effort, and I can't commend Newcastle fans enough for the work that they're doing and the help that they're giving.
Just to confirm as well, the shirt that I put up there before, the Allington Maximin shirt, which John has designed as a one-off for the food bank, will be signed by ASM, which is great. So that makes it very collectible. ASM will sign it. So get your bids in. I'm going to stick it up on Twitter in the next 5 minutes once we get cracking with looking ahead, I guess, to tomorrow's game. Newcastle play Brighton and Hove Albion at St James's Park in a good old-fashioned 3 o'clock kickoff. No TV transmission. The game, once again, is sold out. This will be the 10th game between Newcastle and Brighton and Hove Albion. And Newcastle are yet to win any of them in the Premier League, with 5 draws and 4 defeats. Brighton and Hove Albion have won 2 and drawn the other 2 of their 4 Premier League visits to St James's Park, with Newcastle having failed to register a single goal as yet. Obviously, following victories over Villa and Everton, Newcastle are looking for their third successive home Premier League win, which is something they haven't done since those days under Rafa Benitez in 2018-2019. As I mentioned earlier, me and Malcolm MacDonald will be at the Dog and Parrot at 1 o'clock and then at 5:45 after the game. Come down and see us. It's kids friendly. There's a pool table, good beer and good food to get yourself down. As for injury news, well, Newcastle are still without Callum Wilson and Kieran Trippier. Still no news on the availability of ASM, although he was back at the training ground today and had been taking part in training. So we are hopeful that he may well be playing, well, at least play some part, it has to be said. He, of course, missed the last couple of games with a calf problem. Matt Ritchie is still out of contention as well. He's missed the last 6 games with a reported knee problem, but he is expected to join training next week. As for Brighton, well, Adam Webster isn't expected to feature, but Adam Lallana may feature tomorrow for the Seagulls. Graham Potter's side, of course, suffered the third successive Premier League defeat without scoring when they got beat off Aston Villa 2-0. On the road, though, they are a hard nut to crack. They were only beaten twice, once at Aston Villa and once at Manchester United. They have managed to get a league-high total of 7 draws away from home. They have won games at all of our relegation rivals, though. Burnley, Brentford, Watford and Everton. And as I mentioned the other day, Brighton have confirmed that they're going to wear their yellow and blue third kit tomorrow, which publicises a scheme donating profits from the sale of them to the British Red Cross Ukraine Crisis Appeal. Martin Atkinson is back in town in the middle. He is our referee. He took the middle for our first game, the 4-2 defeat at home to West Ham, and the 4-0 home defeat by Manchester City. VAR, which has been switched on in recent weeks for Newcastle, is Lee Mason. So, lads, I guess the big question is, do you want to see or do you expect an unchanged team? That's what I'm expecting. I think Newcastle will have an unchanged team. What's your thoughts, Steve?
I think they'll have an unchanged team as well. We've said that it's for a number of weeks now that's the way that Eddie Howe seems to be operating. He's not a tinker man, you know. He's not a square peg and round holes man. He's got a fixed way of playing. He's got a style of way he plays. He's got a formation that he likes. That's not to say he's not adaptable and he's not up for change when change is needed. But I think what we've got is we've got a camaraderie, we've got a winning mentality, and we've got players who are putting in really, really good performances. And I don't think there's any need to change a winning formula at the moment. There will be requirements to do so moving forward with the fixture congestion that we're going to be coming into, and I think that's when you might see some key changes in personnel. But I suppose the elephant in the room is the ASM situation. I listened to Eddie Howe's press conference. It was quite telling, I thought, in some of the things he came out with. When he was asked about ASM, he just said that he hasn't trained and he was hoping that he would be making some sort of contribution in training today. When he talked about Dan Burn, he talked about how fabulous a guy he is, what great trainer he is, and he talked about what he's brought to the squad. And he did exactly the same with other players that he mentioned. And I thought that was quite telling. And I think that ASM will be, if he's been injured for 3 weeks, he's been out of the team for 3 weeks, he's only just returned back into training today, I think we'll be asking an awful lot to see him go straight into the first team as part of the first 11. Maybe have him on the bench and bring him in carefully. Get another week of fitness under him for next week and see where it goes from there. But at the moment, I think that it's far easier a decision as a manager to make that you keep the winning formula and the winning formation going. So I think it'll be the same. If I was a manager, that's what I would do, but I'm not the manager.
Okay, what about you, Mitch? Unchanged?
In general, I would tend to agree. I certainly don't think ASM will come in. I think he'll be on the bench. The one change I think that could be made if he's fully fit would be to bring Mankillo in for Kraft, just because Brighton have a degree more mobility than some of the teams have played recently. And I think Mankillo might cope with that mobility a bit better. But Howe tends to stick with the side that's done them well. And I certainly don't think Kraft did anything wrong at the weekend. So if he loses out or misses out, he'll probably feel himself to be unlucky. So I think as a rule, I'd say no, probably no changes. But the one that I might look for or look out for might be Mankillo coming in.
Okay, yeah, I've got no idea where Toon Tipster is. I've not heard from him. I'm not sure if he's okay. Have you heard from him or not? This isn't a joke, by the way. Is he all right? Does anybody know if he's okay? Not heard any communication from him today, but no Toon Tipster, I'm afraid. So I can't even give you any odds because he's not even sent us an email. So I hope he's okay.
You know, what I would add to what we're talking about in terms of the game tomorrow, as the club moves forward, at the moment, we're not Man City. We haven't got an abundance of players of absolute quality who have been coached to play a particular way, and where the manager looks ahead 2 or 3 games and he goes, you know what, I can make that change without impacting whatsoever the style that I'm playing, because he's got it down to a T. But it's taken him 4 or 5 seasons to get to that point. That's what will happen going forward. That's the 25-man squad that you utilise, where players know that they could be out for 3 weeks and then they could be brought back in for a midweek game or a cup game or a Champions League game or whatever. We're not at that level, and we won't be for quite a while. So what we need to do is we need to be picking up points, and Eddie Howe will be looking and going, this is the team that I think that can be picking up points. They're already picking up points. I'll keep it that way. I don't want to make the changes until I have to make the changes. And I think that's the management mentality that most managers in that situation have to do. He hasn't got that abundance of riches and that quality in the team where you've got 2 players for every position who are almost just as good as each other, and they slot in and then they move out. What we have is we're in a situation where when somebody gets the shirt, they keep the shirt until such point as that out through not performing or injury. And I think that's the difference, and that's what Eddie Howe's doing at the moment. Moving forward, 2-3 seasons, I'd love to think that we've got Eddie Howe in the position where he's got an abundance of riches and quality in his squad, where he can do what the likes of Guardiola is doing at City.
Yeah, okay, we do have Toon Stato though, so let's hear what he's got to say.
Hello, amigos. Brighton at St. James's Park on Saturday. Brighton are the last side in the Premier League that Newcastle hasn't defeated in the history of the Premier League. Brentford was the other side, but that record is down after the last weekend. In 9 games so far against Brighton, we have 5 draws and 4 losses, with no goals in the 4 games so far at St. James's Park. There are several records there. Actually, 4 games without a goal is the longest run in Newcastle's entire league history against any opposition. And Brighton's current record of 4 successive games at St. James's Park without conceding a goal is the record so far in the Premier League. When it comes to the referee, Martin Atkinson, he's coming for the 3rd time to Tyneside this weekend. And in the previous 2 games, Newcastle conceded 4 to West Ham in the first game of the season and to Man City in end December. Now, if Newcastle are to win, it will be the 3rd successive win at St. James's Park, which will be the first time that it happened since 2019, again in February and March under Rafa Benitez. At the time we beat Burnley, Huddersfield and Everton. So let's see if we can repeat this. All the signs are that we should finally break the duck against them on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to what would be the first ever win against them in the Premier League.
Okay, great stuff as always, Andre. Stay safe, mate. Nice to hear from you. Dan Byrne must be looking forward to this, Steve. It's the Dan Byrne show, isn't it, tomorrow? He's only recently left Brighton, left a gaping hole at the back 4, as we know. But yeah, he must be looking forward to playing against a club which he served so well.
Yeah, and I think Dan Burn will be just so excited to be putting on a black and white shirt. As a Newcastle footballer, as a Newcastle fan, and as someone who used to sit in the stand watching Newcastle United as a kid, I mean, all his dreams have come true at 29-year-old, and tallest player in the league, I think somebody said today. At 6'7", I think that was in reflection to a conversation about how short Fraser was, mine. But so I'm not gonna say that it's definitely that tall. But yeah. I mean, let's face it, he's come in and it's like he's been part of the squad from day one. You know, he's just cruised in. He's going to end up being another cult hero, isn't he? The fans have taken to him, and I mean, I loved that tackle that he put in when the ball went out to play, and he still took Bowen out. That for me. That was absolutely brilliant when he cleaned Bowen out after the whistle had already gone, and then he looked at him as if to say, "Well, what's your problem?" You know, we haven't seen that in a Newcastle player, other than the fact that somebody writhing in because they've just become frustrated and annoyed. With Dan, it was like he's putting his presence out there. He seems to have produced alongside Shaw into what could turn into a nice little partnership as well. You know, one who's going attacking the ball, and the other one who we know can play football and is a ball player. So that's working quite well. The fact that he's left-sided, that helps. That just gives a little bit of balance to the two central players. And his sheer presence and his exuberance, and as Eddie Howe said today, you know, he's brought something into the changing room, a mentality, a presence, and as a mature footballer coming to his hometown club, probably an enthusiasm that the other squad, maybe his rest of the squad, wouldn't have seen from just a normal signing. And he's gone in there, and he's probably been lucky to have arrived roughly at the same time as Kieran Butler, who is also a leader. And I think that the two of them will bounce off each other. And I think that we're only going to see good things from Dan Burn going forward. A lot of people keep saying, "Oh, I cannot wait for a goal. I cannot wait for a goal." He's not necessarily the sort of 6'7" player who gets on the end of crosses in the box and puts them in the back of the net, mind. If you want to look at his record on goal scoring, it's not the best. What he is, he's a stopper. He's a genuine centre half. He's a stick your head in. He's a hard man, and he's a Geordie. So we're all behind him.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Really, to see, you know, somebody like him as a centre half, Mitch, for us.
Yeah, I'm still impressed with some of the subtle and little things he does. He's aggressive, but not over the top. Looks comfortable to control the ball and pass it, but equally with his head. Some of those cushioned headers, like I've said before, are just fantastic, and a really hard skill to do. Boy's own stuff would be if he managed to score from a corner against his old club at home for his boyhood club. You know, these are the football stories that write themselves, and they do happen. I'd love it for it to happen tomorrow. I mean, God, you imagine he'd go mental. He'd probably rip everybody else's shirts off.
Mental. We would go mental. He'd go mental.
He'd just rip everybody's shirts in half and all sorts, probably. But you know what? He'd deserve that as well. I think the other thing that it's worth mentioning is another one of these late bloomers that turn up every now and again.
Yeah,
the Arian Wrights and the Les Ferdinands, and they don't come very often, but when they do come, they're usually proper gems. And we've got the opportunity to have him in our squad now for the next couple of years, and let's make the most of it. And even better, he's a local lad, and that satisfies that itch that we all have to see a local lad do well in the team. And this one's not come through the academy; he's not come through the conventional route, but he found his way back home eventually.
Yeah,
there was a young man called Alan Shearer did something similar once, and look what happened after we signed him. You know. I know I'm in cloud cuckoo land at the minute now a little bit, but this is what being on the top end of the bounce does. We can start to dream and enjoy and look forward to things. Isn't it amazing to hear Andrea doing his stats saying about, oh, this is the time to break this run? 10 weeks ago, oh, well, we've not won against them and we're on a really bad run. Yeah, we'll probably keep going this week. Now we're talking about, right, let's break this hoodoo. Let's get them beaten. Let's keep this run going. It's amazing what a few weeks and that little bit of confidence can do. And Dan Burn's part of that.
Yeah. Who's your bottom three, Steve? I've asked this, a few times during the season. I mean, it's
a kebab shop.
Yeah, no, I've seen that. Who's your bottom three? I've changed, like you've changed. We've all changed. I think Norwich and Watford. I still think. I mean, I've had one or two people this week going, I think Watford will get out of it. They've got a good manager in there, etc. But I still think Norwich, Watford, and you know what? It's a flip of a coin between Brentford and Leeds now. Brentford really do look lost. They look devoid of ideas, but I think Leeds, it really just depends on whether Marsh can come in and get them, excuse the pun, marshing on together. If he can, Leeds will stay up by the skin of their teeth. But a lot of people saying the Scouse Mackems and Everton I cannot see that happening. I think Lampard will get something out of them. I think he is a good coach. I think he will get something out of them. I think it's between Leeds and Brentford, and it's a flip of a coin.
I think so. I think you're dead right. I think it's between those two. What I would say about Leeds, if they can get some of their players back fit, if they can get Calvin Phillips back on the pitch, I think that could be a big turning point for them. And I think you're right. Brentford do look lost. They kind of buy a win, and from such a good start to the season, to watch it tail off in the manner it has. Leeds have been crippled by injury, absolutely devastated by injury. And the way that Leeds have played, Leeds can play absolutely scintillating football, or they can get destroyed. And that was under Bielsa. I think they can still play the scintillating football, but with the new manager and with the manager, the bounce that you get with a new manager, you'd think that all he's got to do is tighten them up defensively, by that few percentage marks that's needed, and they get a win under their belt again, and they start to gain that level of confidence. And as I say, if they can get the likes of Phillips back on the pitch, I think that could make a big difference to them. So it's between the two, but I'm going to go to Brentford as the third place.
What about you, then, Mitch? Who do you see going down?
I don't think there's cut as dried as that. I think, Norwich and Watford look gone. Burnley are playing well now, but what happens if they go through a little wobble? They could sink back into it quite easily. I find Leeds' managerial appointment quite a baffling one, really, for a team that's genuinely in a relegation battle. That could go very, very badly wrong for them. Kind of some of these, some of these managerial appointments at this stage in the season, that one does genuinely make me scratch my head. I'll have a chat with the Leeds lads tomorrow. I'll be getting in to watch our game after their game's finished. So if I can see that most of the chairs have only got 3 legs and there's a smouldering barbecue in the corner and there's other tables upturned, I'll know what's gone wrong when I walk in. I'll see what they make of it and I'll see what they think of it, and let's see how they play tomorrow. Everton, while we're on, let's have another I told you so from last week from me and Steve. The connection to Usmanov and the USM company that initially said was going to be sanctioned and then said bizarrely about six hours later, oh no, that's not that company, it's a different company and it's one that Piff own. Now suddenly turns out it was that company and all the sponsorships coming off. This isn't helpful to them in the situation that they're in, because this puts an absolute massive hole in their finances. I don't care. I haven't spoken to a couple of Everton lads that I know out here. They reckon they'll be okay because the other one's a billionaire and he'll be all right. Well, yeah, but he also doesn't have a magic money tree, that piles of cash sitting in a safe that can just suddenly chuck into the club. It puts the whole FFP balance at risk, losing all of that sponsorship. And that's a club that spent $500 million in the last 18 months to get worse. And so I'd be very interested to see what the morale in that club's like at the moment. I'm still not convinced about Lampard as a manager. I think he rides on his father's reputation a wee bit. Sorry, on his uncle's reputation a wee bit rather. But I also think he doesn't come across as somebody who inspires. And they may have a cup distraction. They're as bad as us about getting distracted in the cup.
Yeah.
And so again, they're going to have fixtures piling up that they've got to fulfil around a potential cup run. They need to turn around and start to get on a bit of a run like we've gone on, and a bit of a run like Burnley have gone on. And from what I've seen of them, I can't see that coming out of them. And I think of all the teams that are down there, what Leeds have got to do is tighten up. You're quite right, because they're leaking like a sieve. And it's going to take a lot more than a manager to do that, I think. They need players back fit. They've got players who allegedly should have been back already, who've all had setbacks in recovery. They're in big trouble. Everton, I think, will remain in trouble towards the end of the season. Burnley's run of form, I think, will come to a little bit of a judder somewhere soon. And I just don't think it's cut and dried. My head says Leeds, because I think the managerial appointment isn't the right one for them at this time. I think they've gone the wrong way. It's a brave appointment. I think it's too brave. And I've seen enough of them this season and talked to enough of their fans this season to know that it's a bit like us and that Pardew. When we were good, but when we were bad, we were bloody rubbish. And that's exactly the same. And they're being bloody rubbish at the wrong end of the season. But I just don't know how this business with Usmanov is going to affect Everton as a football club throughout. And I think they will still be in the mix until the last day of the season.
Oh, interesting. I love it. I love it when you're not involved.
Yes. It's the run of fixtures that all the clubs have as well. When you look at this, all of a sudden you suddenly see Everton have got 4 really, really difficult fixtures where on paper you're looking and go, well, if it was the Leeds that we know, they've got 2 decent games where you can see them picking up points, but it depends on which Leeds is turning up. But with Brentford, just kind of buy a win, you know, and you can see that the morale is still there, but there's just not getting the wins, and it's kind of drifted into a habit. I can see the reason why there are issues at Everton. I can see the reasons why there are issues with Leeds, but I can't see the reason for the issues at Brentford other than they just haven't got it.
Look, I tell you what I saw at the weekend out of Brentford. That signing of Ericsson did give them a bit of galvanisation. And when he came on, they did lift. The entire ground lifted. Oh. And for them, that might just be the difference between scrambling a few more points to stay out of it and not. I don't see that from any of the other clubs around them.
You're right, Steve. Everton's fixture list is awful. People are saying it in the chat as well. They've got a horrendous running. They really have, and that is that. No, it just depends. Lampard he's got a big test coming up, and it'll be interesting to see where we are at the end of the season. Ian McKenna, Brentford have got a good manager, and that's it. Yeah, he is a good manager, but they come and go. That's the problem. Bielsa is a good manager, but look what's happened to him. He's been found out. You know, all those goals are conceded. Yeah, they're missing players, but a good manager or a good coach finds a way of dealing with injuries. We've had injuries over the last few weeks, which people said when Trippier's out, that's it. You know, that's a nightmare. You couldn't tell. Then ASM, Callum Wilson, all missing. A good manager still manages to get the players coming in playing exactly the same way.
Yeah, and the thing with it, when you get a fixture pile up, or when you get that run of fixtures that Everton have got, it just needs those around you to pick up a couple of points, you know, a couple of wins, and all of a sudden you're below them, and you kind of buy a win, and that's when the pressure, and that's where you'll see whether Lampard's a really good manager or not, whether he's a good coach or not, whether he's got it, and also whether his squad have got the guts for the fight. Because that's another thing. Because what I watched Everton the other night, and you see the heads go down. You know, when you see attitude, you see arms starting to flail around. You see defenders starting to make mistakes. You see the goalkeeper flapping, but you see that every week anyway with Everton, so it doesn't really matter. But you know what I mean. It's the body languages. We've talked about body language among players before. When you see the body language of certain players, and how it can impact on a performance or on a teammate, and that's when it starts to unravel. And if you're unraveling while you're not getting the points being picked up, then it's all changed. So, Mitch, you might be right. We might see an Everton down there among the dead men sooner rather than later. As you say, Steve, going to be interesting.
Definitely is. Okay, give us your prediction, Steve.
2-0 win.
You went for 2-0. That's right. Mitch, you've got to get the dice out on a Friday night.
Oh, hell, I forgot about that. 2 seconds.
He's off. He's off. Well, while he's doing that, he's got it. It's easy to get. I was going to go for Julie's favourite part of the night, but we'll wait for Mitch to get he's getting it out of its special box.
No.
Or bag.
Special bag.
No, special bag. So the FA
Cup. The dice has come up 1-1.
Bloody Brighton.
I know.
Bloody Brighton. Okay, 1-1. That's the lucky dice says 1-1. That means the unbeaten run keeps going. Wouldn't be ideal. We want to win. But there we go. 2-0 Steve predicts. I'm going for 1-0. I fancy Chris Wood to beat the dreaded Duck tomorrow.
That would be fab.
Yeah, 1-0 Chris Wood. I think it'll be a tight, awful, scrappy game, but I think Newcastle will get the win.
So we give Mitch another go, because can he have his own choice as well as the dice's choice?
Go on, Mitch. What's your prediction
2-0.
without the dice? 2-0 to Newcastle.
2-0. Wood and Burn.
Big damn Burn. Okay, here you go, Julie. Quite a boring week in the world of trolldom. I think people are giving in. I think they're packing in now. So it's just gone back to basics from B. Fitzpatrick, Baldy Tory. That's it. I'm sorry, Julie. It's nothing exciting. It's nothing intelligent. It's just
not even a nonce this week. Jeez,
I'm not even a nonce. No, just Baldy Tory. That's it. So thank you for your input. Another one on the block list, and we move on. I'm back 10 o'clock in the morning with Mick Lowes. Great to join Mick on a Saturday morning to look ahead to the game. I'll be at the Dog and Parrot at 1 o'clock tomorrow, so pop in and see us. And I'll be back with the lads on Wednesday, but Geordie's here, Geordie's there. Steve, Mitch, have a great weekend, lads. And see you soon. Take care.
Take care,
cheers, everyone.
Enjoy the game.